Can Jalen Hurts carry the Philadelphia Eagles to a playoff victory on Monday night in Tampa Bay? If not, where does the season rank among disappointing years in franchise history? All that and more on this Wednesday edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON to get 20% off your order. That's Jace Medical, J-A-S-E Medical.com. We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Louis DiBiase, joined as always by Gino Camilleri, getting you ready for Monday night's wild card matchup in Tampa Bay. Eagles, Buccaneers. The Eagles right now, Gino, 3-point favorites. I don't believe that's moved, correct?
I don't think it has moved since yesterday. We will hop on the FanDuel Sportsbook as we speak, but that's a trap game line all day long, man. 3 points for an on-the-road favorite? I don't know about that.
Yeah, so it's the last game of the wild card round. Kind of just, I don't know, man. It's been like 4 weeks of this now where you've kind of realized they're probably not going to have not only not the 1 seed, but the 2 seed, the division title, a home playoff game. It still feels shocking to me, though, that they're going to be on the road.
Out of all things, that was the one where you're sitting at 10-1, where you can at least stomach that you're going to get one home playoff.
You'd hope, right? Yeah.
And the thing about that is, Lou, the track record with the Philadelphia Eagles at home has been exceptional in their history. I mean, playing at home, I think the split has to be much more in their favor than on the road. And going down to Tampa Bay, I hate going to a place that you have already won against a team in their home stadium earlier that year. And with the way that this team is playing, it is quite literally a toss-up. And right now on FanDuel, it's still the Eagles as a 3-point favorite. I don't trust that line at all. If I'm going to bet the Eagles, it's going to be money line. I hate that 3 points, but man, Tampa with the points, it just seems like the way the Eagles have been playing that if it's going to come down to a field goal, I would take those points.
And if the Eagles are going to cover, Gino, it's got to be by their quarterback carrying them. And we've been saying that for a few weeks now, that their stars have to elevate all the issues they have on defense when it comes to personnel, when it comes to coaching. And I think across the NFL, you've seen because of the inconsistencies this year, even among the contenders, like a lot of quarterbacks have been asked to carry some pretty tough situations. I think if I had to pick 3 specifically, like you look in the AFC, Patrick Mahomes and a Kansas City team that's very different than they've been in the past 5 years. And I'd say Josh Allen in Buffalo has had to carry a lot this year. And probably Jalen Hurts, wouldn't you agree? Like he's probably a top 3 quarterback when it comes to a situation that he's had to elevate. The issue is I feel like Hurts the last month and a half, and again, maybe it's unfair to say, but he just hasn't really carried them through these games. And unfortunately, it's against some bad teams. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of unfair again because he put up 30 points against Arizona. But I mean, the first 11 weeks of the year, that Jalen Hurts, like he was good against the Giants. He was good against the Cardinals, but you haven't really seen that great quarterback in a while. And I think if they're going to beat Tampa Bay, again, he's banged up with that finger injury, but he's going to have to be that Buffalo Bills version that we saw, or against Kansas City in the fourth quarter, against Dallas, Miami. Like that's the guy he's going to have to be.
And the intriguing part about the Jalen Hurts, can he carry discussion is that we were saying for the first, let's say, 10 weeks of the season that he didn't look 100% himself. And
it's true. He
was still able to, at times when they needed him, go above and beyond. And that was the differentiating factor that you and I have spoken about with Jalen Hurts is, can he do it when they need him to, or can he do it just because he's Superman? And this is an environment this week where it's like, just because you're Superman, Jalen Hurts, go and be Superman, but don't force it. Don't have those crazy throws where you're forcing it into double coverage. That's been the one thing outside of his fumbles that has really kind of hindered him. But this week, man, if, like you said, if it's one look, it's not there, like drop the eyes and go. Like if you think you can win this game, Jalen Hurts, go above and beyond to do it if he's fully healthy. I know that finger is going to be banged up. I know AJ Brown is going to be banged up. I know DeVonta is going to be banged up. I don't expect the guys behind them to elevate that passing offense. So it truly is going to have to be a Heisman-like performance from Jalen Hurts, Lou, but it has to be on that line of balance.
That's a good point.
You can't force the issue. He cannot just sit in the pocket and hope things develop downfield. He has to just find when he can be the best guy on the football field. Just don't throw it into double coverage. That's literally the only thing I don't want him to do.
Yeah, you don't want to be, you have to be a hero in this game in a way, and you have to be, like you said, you got to be Superman. You have to elevate. You got to be a quarterback that you paid $200 million. And again, sometimes it's not fair to ask, like, this is a lot to take on that Jalen's dealing with, but this is why you pay this position this much money. Is when there are situations like this, you still have a chance to win a road playoff game. That's the guy that you pay. Is you ask the question, in this exact environment, can he carry you to a win? And they believe Jalen Hurts is that guy, or else you would not have paid him that contract. You would have either not paid him at all or gave him a Daniel Jones type of deal, which is a we'll see. That's the kind of money Daniel Jones got. Jalen Hurts, he got the he's going to carry you in these situations type of money. But you're right. Like, you can't be reckless in the passing game. I'm thinking more from the, like you said, yes, it might be a clean pocket, but if you know you can pick up 15 yards here with the run, normally I would say, no, sit in the pocket, wait for the bigger play to come up, but just take the explosive plays when you can get them. I think Jalen, from a mobility perspective, he's got to be willing to take off for 4 quarters.
And there will be times that Tampa Bay is going to play man against you. If you see those defensive backs flip their back and they're looking downfield trying to cover their guys, those are the situations you're talking about, Lou, where if that middle of the field is exposed, go dominate the middle of the field. Jalen Hurts, go get those 15 yards. Make them respect that running game. To emphasize off the point we made yesterday, how are they going to open up the pass game? By respecting the running game and bringing guys down into the box, because heck, DeVonta and AJ are going to be banged up. Your offensive coordinator and Nick Sirianni is going to scheme 0 people open. It is just going to be sure will that this team is going to go and win this game, because heck, on defense, you're not stopping anybody. You can't have confidence that you're going to stop me and you playing pickup football against this team right now.
And as we said yesterday in the show, Tampa Bay blitzes the 3rd most in the league right now. Like, Jalen's getting, we're not banking on the coaching staff to have an answer this week. They haven't had an answer for 3 years. So Jalen's just got to be somebody that performs some magic. The mobility, you got to see that. Making plays outside of structure. He's got to be that $200+ million quarterback on Monday night. If he's not able to do that, and the Eagles do lose this game, where would this season rank among disappointing years? I want to get into that coming up next, right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by Jace Medical. I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, and there's a lot of them, but can we talk just for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. This is scary. I mean, I know a lot of people that are sick right now. Can't imagine a more helpless feeling than a family member getting sick while a supply chain issue kept them from, potentially life-saving medication they needed. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to anybody. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will then be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jacemedical.com and use our offer code LOCKEDON to get 20% off your order. Once again, jacemedical.com, use the code LOCKEDON to get 20% off your order.
Today's episode of LOE is also brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. By now, you have to know what Prize Picks is. We talk about them quite literally each and every day. Speaking of each and every day, that's what it is. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players. It's you against the Prize Picks projection. Say, are they going to have more or less than whatever the computer says? And you don't just have to pick guys in the NFL. You can do a combination of players in the NBA and NFL. Heck, you could take LeBron James and Travis Kelce at a combo of 10.5 at 3-pointers made and receptions. You also want to play alongside Meek Mill and Andrew Schultz. You could do that in their community plays tab. And they had the coolest policy ever, where if a player is injured in the first half, they will reboot that player in the second half. It's the only place that has injury insurance, and you could get in on the action today by going to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. You put in $100, they will give you $100 back. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Guys, want to let you know that Locked On, we've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today, they're here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Eagles Buccaneers this Monday night, the wild card round of the 2023-2024 NFL playoffs. Eagles head into this game as 3-point favorites. As we mentioned, their stars are going to have to carry them. Jalen Hurts is going to have to be great. A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, they're not at 100%, but they need those guys to empty the tank on Monday. Let's say they don't, right? And they can't overcome just how bad this defense has been, how bad the game planning has been, and the in-game management from the coaching staff. And they lose this one, because I think that is something that a month ago I would say if they played Tampa Bay, they would boat race them in the playoffs. Now I think it's very realistic that they could lose this one. Tampa Bay is one of the hottest teams in the NFL. If they lose, where would you rank this year among disappointing seasons in Eagles history? Because I think it would be up there for sure, considering everything that's happened. And when you look at what happened last year,
I wouldn't put it at, I would say number one or number two. I think there are definitely seasons in the early 2000s that when they hit that NFC championship game and it's you see the 14-3 outing against Carolina and Tampa Bay and these crappy NFC championship performances, and it's dang, we did all of this all season long, year after year after year, and we get this result. It would be up there. I think after the expectation, I think last year definitely is disappointing because you lost. You were right there, you had the apple in your hand off of the tree, and
that's what makes it hurt
out
more,
of your hand.
right?
Yeah,
it's because you thought this year you'll have another crack at it, and once you realize you don't have that, it's if we would have just made one or two more plays last year and got that right.
But is that on us for not sitting there and saying the Eagles did this after the Super Bowl last time, the benefit of the doubt?
It was hard to project, man. They looked like they had so much carrying over, and you had
Jalen
a
month ago, dude. They were 10-1. They were 10-1, and even those times when they're squeaking out these games, like the Buffalo Bills game, it's dude, they put up 5 touchdowns and a half. They are one of the best teams in football. How can you doubt that? And then to go from one of the best teams in football seemingly overnight to a team that, heck, can they beat the team that just won the FCS championship in South Dakota State a couple days ago? Man, come on. This team is definitely bad, but it's disappointing. But at the same time, it's the reality of not holding yourself accountable for these mistakes. And I'm not as upset about the season is because you and I have been shouting from the rooftops that some of these things are going to come back to bite them. And I think a lot of people in Philly as well. So it's is it disappointing if we knew that this could be a result, right? Last year,
I didn't know about this collapse, though.
No,
right?
That's the thing. I think it would be more shocking than disappointing. If you were to say one of the most shocking seasons, I think that's
a good point.
That's up there for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you make some good points. And the thing is, though, those teams at least made the NFC title, and yes, the dream team was so disappointing because they didn't even come close to meeting expectations. Or the 2015 Eagles, 2018, even after the Super Bowl, that team was 9-7 and just squeaked into the playoffs. And 2019 too, they had so many expectations, and they won the
Randall
division.
tearing it or getting hurt the first day of the season.
Randall Cunningham in 91, that team had the best defense of all time according to DVOA. So there's been a lot of disappointing years, but for me, this one might be number one because some of those teams did not deserve the expectations, right? The 2018 roster, even coming off a Super Bowl, they didn't have the talent, I think, even of this football team. And those teams also didn't, through 11 weeks, win 10 games. That's the thing you're talking about. You're so right. The shock point, the shock value is I've just never seen a plummet in season like this, where you're coming off a year where you were 1 or 2 plays away from winning a Super Bowl. Then you're 9 games over 500, and now you can't even come close to beating Tyrod Taylor and the New York Giants. That's why for me it's number one, because again, unlike some of those years, you came in with an elite quarterback, those other who played every single game of the year. So It's up there. And if it's not number one, I think it's top three. If they lose this football, even if they win, I think they have to at least be competitive in the divisional round for me to silence, and we said this yesterday, to silence any sort of disappointment. And when it comes to like these long-term questions, like they have to go toe-to-toe with San Fran or Dallas to make me feel like in the future, we're not going to look back at this year in 2022 and say, damn, like that was the moment and we didn't capitalize and it all came crashing down just like after 2017.
Disappointment, man. It's a real thing. And I think it would be more upsetting if they once again lost in just an embarrassing fashion, because it's like, how do you lose 6 out of the last 7 games after being, like you said, 9 games over 500?
And your roster did not change that much
at all. It didn't change at all.
I mean,
like, yeah, Slay's banged up. I mean, he was out the last couple games of the season, but the defense fell off a cliff.
Did they lose that much confidence? I mean,
dude, I mean, I think the team cracked at one point. I mean, we'll see if they can put that behind them, man. Like the playoffs is definitely a different game. It's a different environment. We'll see who steps up to the plate. But in terms of regular season, there were people sitting there with the Eagles over 11.5 win total futures back in the middle of October. And they're saying, we're going to cash this thing easy, probably by this half of November. And they don't cash it at all because they win 11 games because they lose 5 out of their last 6. Like, that's disappointing. That's disappointment. Thank goodness I didn't bet that future that they would have over 11.5 wins. But, yeah, it's disappointing, Lou, because the expectation was a 1 seed. You're going to get the bye. You're going to host multiple home playoff games. And you're going to have a road to the Super Bowl. Right now, I don't see a path. I do not see a path to the Super Bowl.
We got to talk first about a path to getting a win on Monday against Tampa Bay.
Kidding.
What's the biggest key, the one thing the Eagles defense needs to do on Monday to help Jalen Hurts in this offense get a win? We'll get into that as we wrap up this Wednesday edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of potentially just expanding on what we've already been doing right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another, or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you want to actually eat breakfast too. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that actually stick. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress that you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. Once again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Get 10% off your first month of online therapy. All right, Eagles fans, we're wrapping up this Wednesday edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast, getting you ready for Eagles Buccaneers on Monday, the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. And you know, a lot of the theme of what we've been talking about the last few days when we're talking about this matchup and how the Eagles get a win, it's the stars carrying. It's, you know, that big three of Jalen Hurts, DeVonta Smith, and A.J. Brown carrying you, although none of them are going to be at 100% in this one. And, you know, we talked about the pass rush waking back up. That's what I want to get into more now is the defense, because again, the offense, yes, they're going to have to carry you to win this game. They're going to have to probably score 30 points at least to win. But those guys are not healthy. Like, they're going to need the defense to get some stops. If you had to say there's one thing the defense had to do against the Buccaneers to get a win, and I'm not saying that means like shut them out or hold them to under 20 points, like something realistic that they need to do to have any shot of winning, what would that be?
Don't let Mike Evans take over the game.
Yeah. I wrote the same thing. It was Godwin and Evans. Yeah.
Dude, as soon as they got this matchup, what I was thinking about was 2015, sitting in that stadium, the only game I've ever left early, watching Byron Maxwell get absolutely roasted by Jameis Winston and Mike Evans for, I think he scored 3 touchdowns that game. Jameis threw for 5. Mm-hmm. If you can hold Mike Evans to less than 2 touchdowns, and the combination of him and Godwin to less than 3, I think you stand a legitimate chance. And at the same time, Rachaad White, who's been running that ball well, and if you go back in time, Lou, you and I were big fans of him when he was coming out in the draft. Yeah. He rips off a lot of 5 or 6 yard per carry types of runs. They have to try and get some semblance of that rush defense back to not allow them to open up that pass game, because that's when you get into the territory of Mike Evans just completely taking over. But if I had to put one thing, Mike Evans cannot be the guy that wins you this game. And how many times have we said that, Lou, that player X, Y, or Z cannot be the one that beat you? And then they have gone and done exactly that.
No, it's happened
CeeDee
a lot.
Lamb, every single time, is just absolutely torched the Philadelphia Eagles.
Exactly. I think Mike Evans, stopping him is key. To me, it's just like, don't let them eat up the middle. And that's not just the passing game. I think Chris Godwin is somebody that's a physical force over the middle of the field.
Yep.
That's not a great matchup either. Their second receiver is tough to take on. But like you said, the run game, I mean, what the Eagles were the number one run defense through the first half of the year, and it wasn't even close. Like, teams were just completely abandoning the run because they couldn't do anything against this front. Against Tampa Bay, they were incredible that game. Like, the performance of Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Fletcher Cox, like, they eliminated Rachaad White. And since then, they've been one of the worst run defenses.
You know where I was most, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
It just popped into my head. The moment where you can kind of look back and be like, oh, this might be a problem. Do you remember that sequence in the Bills game? It was towards, I think in the third quarter, it might have been in the fourth quarter, where Latavius Murray ripped off like 3 runs that were like 8-9 yards. You're like, dude, Latavius Murray is probably going to retire after this year. There's no reason.
He's their third running back.
He's their third back behind Fournette and James Cook. And it's like, I can see James Cook doing that, but this guy, Latavius Murray, is just destroying the middle. And now you got Rachaad White, who that guy takes 3 to 4 guys to take down in the middle of the field. And Chris Godwin's a heck of a slot receiver.
Right.
Give him those two-way goes. Who's going to defend that?
And Baker Mayfield's a great play-action quarterback, too.
He is. It's so frightening to go into this game and like everything you're looking at plays into the favor of Tampa Bay because the Eagles can't find a counter to that. Because every time, let's take Mike Evans away. Well, then that's going to open up the run game underneath. We protect the run. That opens up the play action. Boom, the Eagles are down 30 points.
And the run defense is the perfect representation of just the dramatic plummet this team took from 10-1 to, because they were literally the number one run defense and then were in the bottom of the league. So they have to, like you said, take away Mike Evans, but you just can't let them eat over the middle. That's Baker Mayfield's bread and butter, Chris Godwin's, Rachaad White. You have to stop that trio from getting going. And it's easier said than done. The Eagles have not been able to do that against anybody, but that's going to be the key for this Eagles defense, just to get some stops and give Jalen Hurts a chance to win a potential shootout on Monday night. Gino and I and our boys over at Locked On Buccaneers, we're going to get deeper into this matchup tomorrow, crossover Thursday, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. That's going to do it for this Wednesday edition of the show. As always, thank you for downloading, thank you for watching and listening, and let's go Birds.
Go subscribe and fly, Eagles fly.